Welcome to the 98th episode of the Supernatural Occurrence Studies Podcast.
So damn paranormal.
My name is Jason Knight, host of the show, and with me this evening is...
Oscar Spector.
Producer extraordinaire and podcast co-host. Also joining us this evening is my lovely wife...
Kate Knight.
Katie Knight. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
Who invited you back?
The ghosts.
Oh, they're in abundance here, apparently.
No, the ghosts are wondering, are we going to talk about them at some point?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Oscar, what's wrong with your voice?
Oh, I'm doing a performance piece right after this.
Sounds kind of sexy, actually.
Thank you. Actually, I had a few people, like regulars at work, like take a step back from my voice. I'm like, what is that?
Are you sick?
I was.
Oh.
I don't know if this is an actual result of that. I coughed like violently earlier today, like 14 hours ago. And since then.
Oh.
You know.
You screwed up your voice.
I think so.
I did an episode one time when I barely had a voice. The Ripper Crew episode.
You remember the exact episode?
I remember everything about the show.
What fucking freak are you?
I got a lot of compliments on my voice, actually.
I bet. No, I bet.
Did they say that you sounded like the Ripper?
They said I sounded sexy.
No.
Yeah, no.
Highly doubtful.
No, it's true.
Highly doubtful. Yeah, I agree. But I did get that a couple times today. I would say that this is my voice that when I go karaokeing, I perform songs in this voice that I can usually bring on whenever I want. But now I can't help but only have it.
Could you give us a little sample of what that might sound like?
No. I need to have a song.
Could you slowly say, "Take off your pants"?
No, that's insane balls.
Just try it.
Take off your pants.
Oh boy.
Katie, what'd you think of that?
No.
So why are you back on this show?
She's putting another pair of pants on. That's how bad that was.
Well, with having with having psychology major background, I love to learn all about the crazy things that go on in lovely serial killers' minds. So
lovely serial killers.
Anywho, we are on a topic.
I never give the topic away at the top of the show.
That's why I'm not saying it.
But the title is on the fucking episode.
It is.
Oh, that's true.
What do you think I'm going to call it? This is not about Zodiac. I'm going to call it that.
Okay, that's cool.
I'm going to call it that.
That's why I'm here.
Or maybe because he put "This is the Zodiac" on his headings.
This is the Zodiac speaking.
Maybe I should just call it "This is not the Zodiac," and no one will understand it. In parentheses, the not.
That sounds fun.
This is maybe the Zodiac?
Yeah. Are we... Well, no, I guess I'm not spoiling for what the material is about. I'll ask that question later.
Don't spoil my 25 pages of material.
Well, I can't spoil something I never read. But
Katie read
I did.
She prepped.
She prepped?
I'm excited. Someone prepped for my show.
Yeah. Well, you never give me the notes.
Because I know you won't read them.
I read them once or twice. Yeah, I peruse. I glimpse. You know.
You always ask me for the Cliff Notes.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. For a long time, I thought it was just Cliff. Then I found it was Cliff. There's got T in there.
Is there?
I thought
it was. Oh, that was CLIFF.
No, I think they may have switched them or some knockoff. But I think there was. I saw it one time on newsstands or something. It was Cliff Notes.
Oh, well,
I'm like, huh?
You learned something.
I never bought one in my life, so I don't know.
Yeah. All right.
I know how to read.
I read good.
I read woo.
All right. Anything new going on?
Well, I started to work this week. It's been pretty chaotic, and that's another reason why I'm here. Just in case I'm too tired for the next one. You know how that was last
if
year.
you start it, you got to finish it.
So you're saying you're not going to be too tired tomorrow? You don't have a lot to do tomorrow?
I'll be exhausted tomorrow.
Okay. Huh.
Seems like we're starting at a very kind of a low vibe right now.
I definitely don't mean to.
Raise your hand if you're tired.
No one can see that.
Yeah, no one saw that.
Audio medium.
You have a lot to learn, Katie. A lot to learn.
I do have something.
You do?
I mean, just something small.
Oh.
I was thinking of saving it for the next one. Recording.
Oh, for 99.
And for the 99, but it's okay, I'll say no. This is nothing at all relating to SOS or SOSP, as we agreed to last time.
Yes. SOSP is, what is that again?
Supernatural Occurrence Studies Podcast.
Ah, SOSP.
SOSP.
Gotcha.
much shorter. You guys have you seen the movie Mean Girls?
Yes.
I don't think I have.
I think Natalia has probably as
Oh
well.
shit! I'm having a Mean Girls party tomorrow.
Oh,
What is
okay.
that?
I'm having my brother got a projector for his birthday.
Yeah.
We only 3 times since then, roughly, we will watch movies outside in the backyard.
Oh, that's
Oh,
cool.
that's so
So I'm going to set it up again tomorrow, and I invite a bunch of coworkers who are really into Mean Girls, and we're having a Mean Girls party.
Fantastic.
I'm surprised you didn't put on one of the Japanese horror movies for them.
No, then no one will show up. No, obviously I'm going to switch it at the last minute and put that.
Hey.
There you
No. No. Yeah. Well, I love that movie, so it's a great movie.
So Mean Girls party for Mr. Oscar Spector.
Yeah, and people are asking me like, "Oh, are you gonna bring any like themed stuff to it?" I'm like, "No. I had a Mean Girls date for Lexi like a month back or 2 months back, and it went off gangbusters. And I got her a lot of shit relating to the movie that goes along with the movie. As the movie was playing, I had this whole thing planned out. But like that's once and that's it. I'm not doing it for a bunch of
Everybody,
people.
right.
Right.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So no, you guys get the movie.
So you're going to have a projector outside, throwing it, on the side of your house or something like that?
Like on the garage. Yeah, there's a screen. There's a screen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a screen.
Yeah.
That's
Nice.
kind of fun.
Yeah,
Have a
exactly.
little fire going out there.
Probably not the fire, but yeah. I don't think we have a thing for a fire. Like a bonfire? You mean?
Yeah.
Nah, I don't think we have that. But maybe we'll see.
Yeah, just set some shit on fire.
Yeah.
Set a garbage can on fire.
Right, it's Chicago. It doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Right.
It'll fit right in.
Right. Exactly.
So, Katie, you started school. You started work.
Mm-hmm.
Good. You're a teacher.
I am.
You're a teacher. What do you teach?
8th grade math.
8th grade math.
Not psychology?
Math.
Well, the psychology definitely helps in my area of expertise with these kids because I'd probably be lost with their behavior.
What's the strangest behavior in 8th grade? Year olds.
Probably have to be careful, right? In case anyone hears this.
No, the strangest behavior. I'm not saying
Strangest?
like what's the strangest kind of behavior. Like, I mean like one person.
Strangest.
A lot of violence.
A lot of violence.
A lot of cussing.
Those are
Of
not
course,
strange behaviors.
they're teenagers. They're getting into that mode where they want to find out who they are and they want to be able to be accepted and fit in with everybody else. And they have to, make a stand and put themselves out there. I can't think of anything of the strangest. Yeah, I might have to get back to you on that one.
Okay.
Maybe
I
like
remember-
in the middle of her talking, I'm like, oh,
Nice.
Yeah, I feel Katie. I remember reading some of the homeworks.
yeah.
What was the question? Cough right into the mic. There you go. It's good.
I went off to the side.
What was the question where the girl answered, "Get me that dick"?
I don't remember the question.
Yeah.
Probably by a guy named Richard, I
She
assume.
put that answer on a test. It's like,
Yeah.
what do you like the most or something like that? That dick.
Did she spell that with D-A-T? Dat.
I think it was regular spelling of that.
Yeah.
Hmm.
They're monsters.
I mean,
Yeah.
you used to steal hood ornaments all the time, so I don't know.
I never stole a hood ornament.
What the fuck? You did it all the time. Your
The
collection's
best.
right behind you, Jay.
The best was my Jaguar. That was my pride and joy.
I know.
That was tough, too. They're bolted on from underneath.
No, I know. Yeah,
I remember I went back home
yeah,
after I couldn't rip it off the hood.
yeah,
I went back home and grabbed a textbook and a hammer.
yeah.
And I put the textbook next to the Jaguar,
Mm-hmm.
and I started beating it with a hammer until I finally got it out.
Wow.
Yeah, that never happened, though.
No, of course not.
Yep.
These are just the dream. This is the hypothetical.
I was a fucking delinquent.
My point is that you were
can't wait to
seen
see
as
how
a
our kids
monster.
are.
Listens to this.
You were seen as a monster by the Katie equivalent of your teacher back then,
Yes. Probably.
and probably that teacher's husband/wife. So, just saying.
Yeah.
I was an angel when I was younger. I had some rebellion, but for the most part, people would look at me like, wow, she didn't do anything wrong in her life.
But then you grew up to be a nightmare.
Edit that.
No.
Or edit the sound of a slap.
That's the reason we
in
have
2
a-
seconds.
That's the reason we have a Patreon member, honestly, I think. A joke like that works. It's a good joke.
It's a good joke. So,
Yeah, that works.
There we go.
Yeah.
Me? Thank you for asking. I just spent the
No,
week,
we don't give a fuck.
just spent the week in Ohio.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, you did have fun with that.
Just a lot of time in Cleveland this week, working in the city of.
But you had an enjoyable week, though, this week.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
The mayor walked right past me. I wanted to say hi. I didn't even know it was him. Did not know it was him.
Who cares?
Worked with the chief of police.
It's fucking Ohio. Who
Worked
cares?
with all these. Hey, we have good Ohio listeners.
I mean, I don't care about the Chicago's mayor either. I don't give a fuck
The
about
mayor. Gotcha.
I don't give a fuck about
Yeah,
it.
just worked with a lot of high-level people this week.
That's
It
what I'm
was
saying.
fun.
So you didn't do a Katie? When I saw Vince Vaughn? Oh, my God, you're Vince Vaughn!
Yeah, no.
Oh, my God, you're the mayor!
Oh my god, I did finally see that movie with Mel Gibson and him
Lethal Weapon?
and Vince Vaughn, the one in the car lot.
Oh, drag on concrete or something?
Dragged across concrete.
Slowest movie ever.
Yeah. Did you finish it?
No. Fell asleep.
Like,
So fucking slow.
I saw the whole thing, and I get the joke.
Yeah.
I get the joke now. I get why it's so long.
Dragged across concrete.
No, I get why it's so
1
long.
mile an hour.
I get it. It's literally dragging you across concrete.
Yes.
That's how it feels like. The movie makes
Really
you
does.
feel
Yeah,
the
I
title.
couldn't finish it either. I was like, I'm too tired. I'm
Well,
in bed.
safe to say at the end, someone's dragging someone across concrete to a shallow grave. So it does happen.
So it's not just
Everyone fucking
So let's
dies.
just
in
fast
that
forward
movie.
to that
Yeah.
part.
Yeah, just fast forward. Prepare to fast forward. Fast forwarding. Sorry.
All right. Yeah. The easiest way to contact.
Are we?
Supernatural
Did we fucking
Occurrence
segue into this?
Just jump right in. Whoosh.
Yeah.
The easiest way to contact us is how
Is to fuck us in the ass. Is that what you said?
No.
No.
Nope.
That's not what you said.
Didn't
That's not what you said.
I mean, it didn't even sound like that.
Really?
Oh my
I can play it
goodness.
back and you'll have you say that.
Probably the
Watch me find an
exact-
edit of you in the past saying that. I just put that in there, and no one will know the difference. Sorry.
They could go to our website, chicagoghostpodcast.com.
Org.
And while they're on chicagoghostpodcast.com, if they click follow, they can get to all of our social stuff.
Not
Facebook,
follow.
Instagram, Twitter, YouTube,
It's Twitter, first
and of
all.
course, Patreon.
Patron.
And speaking of Patreon, I am so proud to announce that we have our very first Stay Puft Marshmallow Man level sponsor on Patreon.
Woohoo!
So we got our first Patreon.
Yay!
What level? Is that the first level?
That's the second level.
Oh, that's the second
That
level.
is the second level.
Oh, shit.
So here's an extra special shout out to our very first Patreon sponsor, Carrie Montgomery from Ohio.
Hey, Ohio. There you go.
Carrie,
Is that why you went to Ohio this week?
No.
fucking.
That's part
Jesus
of the
Christ.
level 2.
He comes to your house.
There's Carrie there.
Oh, my God.
Holy shit.
Hair
I would,
all disheveled.
honestly, Katie,
Shirt
I would not
untucked.
put it past your husband to do that. Not even remotely.
That's listeners. That is part of your level 2 sponsorship. You get a very awkward visit. By
Please,
Jason Knight.
someone from some small town in Romania, please subscribe. I want to see if he does it.
Oh, shit.
That'd be funny.
Yeah.
Shoving my luggage to their front door. So, Carrie, thank you so much for the support.
Yes, thank you.
We love you and can't thank you enough for listening and supporting our show. For her support, at just 17 cents a day, listeners,
No one thinks of it that way.
Carrie now has access to ad-free podcast episodes and exclusive Patreon-only podcast episodes. Episodes that have never appeared in our podcast feed before. So make sure and go over to Patreon and give some support. Carrie will also receive a Supernatural Occurrence Studies podcast sticker.
Sosp.
Yes, Carrie, it's on the way soon. The mention at the top of this episode, like we're doing right now, embarrassing her, and a detailed shout-out in this episode's show notes. So, listeners, what are you waiting for? Visit patreon.com/Supernatural Occurrence Studies Podcast and pledge your support now. Or just go to chicagoghostpodcast.com, click on follow, then click on the Patreon icon, and it'll take you right to us.
Pledge sounds like a cult entrance. Pledge us.
You're joining the Supernatural Occurrence Studies Podcast cult, absolutely.
Have we discussed the cult besides Manson?
I was actually just going to ask that.
I know. Stay out of my head.
I don't think we have. Scientology.
Cult mentality.
Depending on how you think of Scientology. We've talked about that.
No, but we talked about
We
it.
talked
But
about the Process Church.
yeah, but that was in correlation to a specific thing, right? It wasn't like about that. It was like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right. It was like because one person that we were talking about in some history thing, I forget who it was exactly, led you to that, right? It was a Manson thing, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah. I wonder if like that'd be kind of cool a topic like to follow the life and death of a cult, you know.
Yeah,
I like that idea.
I definitely think that's doable.
I mean,
Maybe if we all three...
I can see your mind breaking in half because of the amount of research involving it.
Well, maybe if we all three pick an angle on that topic, we could put it together and spin a story out of it, yeah.
All right.
Well, since we're talking about topics, how about exorcisms? I want to dive into that one.
How about you let me finish?
How about shh?
And actually, Katie,
What?
this will inspire you.
Why are these side conversations?
I know, right?
What's going on?
On this table, on this show, if you want to show about something, it's always, I mean, you don't want to talk to him for sure, but if you bring in your own research back into it, it'll be a show, because then he doesn't have to fucking do a research.
That's right.
And that'll be a show there, right there. That's a show. You could bring your own show to the table.
I'm doing it.
Yeah, you could do that. You could do that.
It might take me a year, but...
Mine's taking me a while, too.
Yeah. Ooh, what's yours?
Oh, I mean, that's because I'm lazy, though. I mean, I know why it's taking me a while. I just don't go back to it as often as I should.
For me, school, work, kids.
All right, okay. So,
husband.
Let's join our Patreon.
Oh, yeah, my third kid.
Join the Patreon. There we go. Call Chicago area code 872-529-0767. What area code is that, Oscar?
That's like
872.
No. That's
Gold
St.
Coast.
Mary's in Manchester, UK.
What?
It's not. It's Chicago.
I'm pretty sure it's not.
872-529-0767.
Oh wait, no, that's the town right next to Parangari Kutirimikwaro. I think that's where it is.
Did it.
Didn't Jason
He did
say?
it?
Yeah.
He said it.
Yeah.
Katie
Didn't
missed
he
it.
say that it was Gold Coast, Chicago?
It's clearly mustard yellow coast.
Okay.
This is a thing. It's like who's on first.
Definitely not me.
Leave us a message or a text, and we'll read them and play them on the show. Our email is contact@chicagoghostpodcast.com. Instagram and Twitter is @ChicagoGhosts. Facebook is @Chicago Ghost Podcast. And speaking of Facebook, Mike, I hope I'm saying his last name right, Mike Sabile, commented on our Facebook and wrote, quote, "Just started listening last week, and I really like what you were doing, especially the Gacy podcast. I actually remember watching WGN News when he was arrested, and they were excavating the house. We talked about this when we talked about Gacy, right?" He goes on, "I was about 8 or 9, but it left an impression. Also, the Manson episodes were extremely well done. Have you looked into doing a Dillinger episode? Has there been any paranormal connection with his death and the theater he was killed in front of?" End quote.
Well, actually, funny you mentioned that, right?
Yes. Yeah. So first, Mike, thank you very much for the comment. Please spread the love and tell people about the show. And yes, Oscar, Katie, there is paranormal stories associated with John Dillinger and the old Biograph Theater on Lincoln Avenue in Chicago. And it's pretty simple. People say that they see a spectral figure.
And actually, we went there, too.
Oh, we've been there countless times.
Yeah, and we saw the bullet hole still on the walls.
That was somewhere else, I think.
Nope, in the alley.
No, I did those.
Were there still bullet holes in Dillinger's alley?
Oh,
no.
yeah.
Really?
One of our first few dates that you took me out on over there.
I honestly don't remember if there were bullet holes left or not.
Yes.
But
there
they
was
do
like
say
a
they
section
see
in
a
the alley.
man-
It was right there.
They do say they see a man running out of the theater, the old Biograph Theater, which is now the Victory Gardens Theater.
Yes.
He comes running out of the theater and cuts into that alley right next to
Yeah.
the old Biograph, or now Victory Gardens. Kind of cuts into that alley, and then he falls and disappears.
Yeah.
And they call that alley Dillinger's Alley, where he tried to escape before he was gunned down by the G-Men back in the day. So yeah, people do claim to see that over there on Lincoln Avenue.
Yeah, but
so thank
also
you for the
the
comment and the question, Mike.
this city doesn't shy away from like putting on a fresh coat of paint over things like that, though. Some of that stuff. I mean, especially like anything like cosmetic to the streets, like they'll change it. They don't give a fuck what died there.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, they'll build something over it. I don't care.
Just like they tore down the
very
old,
few things like the Congress or Drake still there, thank God. But like not many. You know, God knows what will happen. They'll change
especially
it.
the gangland significant buildings.
Yeah.
Old Man Daley went on a demolition spree, tearing that stuff down.
Yeah.
To try to get rid of the old stigma of Chicago and the outfit.
Which is like
Which is why they tore down the SMC garage over on Clark Street.
For sure.
That's associated with the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. That's gone.
Yeah, it's gone.
Really?
And, yeah.
When?
Fuck, I don't know. 40 years ago?
2 years ago.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah. Not much left. It's sad.
Yeah.
And the easiest way to support the show is by leaving us ratings and love on iTunes. Listeners, head over to iTunes, give us a 5-star review. Doing so helps listeners just like you find our little passion project. So help us out and leave some reviews. You can do it right off the phone you're probably listening to this podcast on right now. And speaking of iTunes reviews, we received 2 new reviews.
Yay.
So listeners are they're supporting.
My bots are working. Nice.
Yeah. The first review is from Zona ZJ, who rated us 5 stars and wrote, quote, "Great podcast. Prepare to be hooked. These guys are great. I've been listening to them for quite a while, since my rabbit hole adventure of Mandela Effect, which is how I found them. The chemistry they have is great, and the show's intros are great to get to know them and their personalities. The topics they cover have a wide range, and being someone that considers themselves a believing skeptic, they just lay out all the info without trying to sway an opinion one way or another. And the new web they are weaving of killers definitely has me set for a long time. Keep up the great work, and if anyone is looking for a new show and not tried this one yet, give this one a shot. You won't regret it." End quote. And Zona ZJ also left the same review for us on Facebook, so a huge double thank you to Zona ZJ.
Yes, thank you.
Nice.
Our second iTunes review is from Scooter, who also rated us 5 stars and wrote, quote, "You guys are awesome. Stumbled across your podcast and now I'm hooked." End quote. Scooter, thank you. Be sure to tell everyone you know about our show. So iTunes was really kicking for us the last 2 weeks. We must be doing something right.
That's awesome.
Damn.
Looks like you were about to say something, man.
Nope.
Okay. Anything else, guys, before we take a break?
No, you kind of yelled at us a second ago about interrupting you, so we're letting you take the lead.
Right, no side conversations, right?
No, I didn't. Yeah, I said that.
Wait a minute, I'm not going to walk into that one.
Oscar, let's take a break. Listeners, welcome back to the show. Well, the lights are turned down low.
Not low enough.
The drinks are flowing. And the ceremonial candle is
actually lit.
Katie, how lit is that candle?
Totally lit.
Lexi does it better.
Totes lit. Oh, yeah, she says, like...
we got to work on that.
I think there might be some more crazy happenings down here in this basement again.
Oh, yeah. Lit as fuck.
Don't play footsie with him.
Let's start this show. The self-named Zodiac Killer was directly linked to at least 5 murders and 2 attempted murders in Northern California in 1968 and 69, and was likely responsible for more, possibly up to 37 murders, if you believe what the Zodiac himself claims. No one knows for sure who the Zodiac Killer actually was. There are theories, of course, a lot of theories, and the Zodiac just might fit snug like a bug into the web I'm spinning with serial killers. But remember, the Zodiac was never officially identified, and all the murders and attempted murders we're going to talk about tonight are considered unsolved to this day.
Search goes on in San Francisco for the man known as the Zodiac Killer. The elements involved today included psychiatrists, astrologists, and police guards for school buses. Terry Drinkwater reports.
School children are nice targets. I shall wipe out a school bus some morning, shoot out the tires, and then pick off the kiddies as they come bounding out. That was the threat of the Zodiac Killer. Now, every day, police cars follow the buses which would be likely targets. Officers armed with shotguns take the threat seriously. The psychotic killer has already murdered 5.
Now, since the Zodiac was never caught, I don't have any background info on him. I like to get into serial killers' childhoods and look for those quote-unquote serial killer checkboxes to tick off.
SAT scores.
I know nothing about the Zodiac's childhood, his parents, nor can I identify if the Zodiac would have fit anywhere within the McDonald triad. In other words, was the Zodiac, as a child, prone to bedwetting, cruelty to animals, or did he have a proclivity for setting fires? We just don't know what set this guy off, nor do we know what his true motivations were. But unfortunately, he did exist. And since his first known kill was in 1968, and say he was 20 or 25 years old at the time, he would be 70 or 75 years old today, and could very well still be alive and kicking, enjoying his time, knowing he got away with some of the most notorious, unsolved murders of the 60s and 70s. And he'd be savoring the fact that he got one over on the police, on everyone involved in the Zodiac investigation. Because this guy, he was a big-time bragger and communicator, as the Zodiac communicated with authorities working on his case, and with local newspapers on numerous occasions. He sent at least 18 handwritten letters to various newspapers, which usually included terrifying threats and bizarre demands, and the Zodiac demanded that his letters be printed, or else. Sometimes, the Zodiac letters would include physical evidence from his crime scenes, proving that the letter writer was, without a doubt, the same monster committing the crimes. The Zodiac even made a single phone call to police dispatch, claiming credit for some of his handiwork. And then there were the Zodiac cryptograms, or the Zodiac ciphers. In total, the Zodiac Killer sent 4 letters containing coded messages to local papers, which the Zodiac claimed that if cracked, his identity would be revealed. So yeah, this guy was definitely a communicator. He wanted the world to know exactly what he was up to and why, and that he was in control, unstoppable, and intelligent. Now we're going to get into all this in due time, and I'm breaking the Zodiac into 2 episodes. In this episode, we're going to discuss the Zodiac crimes and some of his letters, the important ones. Remember, he sent at least 18, way too many to cover in a podcast. And in the next episode, we'll cover possible Zodiac murders, the Zodiac ciphers, and finish up with possible Zodiac suspects. And listeners, please pay attention to the both episode show notes, as I have a lot of links I'd like you to check out. So let's try to set the stage. It's 1967-68. By the time we have our first official Zodiac murders, the Summer of Love had just ended in October of 1967. The summer of 67 is the real Summer of Love, the time when people in San Francisco tried to give a name to the feeling that permeated the San Francisco area, namely the Haight-Ashbury district, as the hippie movement came to full fruition. Protesters and riots rocked American cities, decrying the Vietnam War as well as racism. Martin Luther King and Robert Kennedy were assassinated. Meanwhile, the Beatles released the album Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band in 67 and the White Album in 68, while NASA's Lunar Orbiter 3 was circling the moon and taking photographs to try and determine safe landing zones for future manned moon missions. The first issue of Rolling Stones magazine came out to give voice to the youth about their views on music, politics, and pop culture. Man was cryogenically frozen for the first time. Dr. James H. Bedford, who is still frozen to this day at the Alcor Life Extension Foundation in Scottsdale, Arizona. Minimum wage was $1.60 an hour. HAL 5000 was introduced to the world in Stanley Kubrick's movie 2001, A Space Odyssey, and the phrase, "They're coming to get you, Barbara," was introduced to pop culture via George Romero's movie Night of the Living Dead. The Apollo 8 mission concluded at the end of 1968, and astronauts William Anders, Jim Lovell, and Frank Borman were Time Magazine's Men of the Year. Hot Wheels and Silly Putty were popular Christmas gifts around this time. Gomer Pyle, USMC, Gunsmoke, and the Beverly Hillbillies are some of the most popular shows on television, while cults and gurus were popping up everywhere.
Is that when those Oregon guru types that took over that town? Didn't they start around that time? Maybe 70s or 80s? I don't remember. They made that show about it on Netflix.
Oh, I don't know.
They felt very 60s, but I don't know. They were in their heights, I think, in the 80s.
Maybe they started... I mean, a lot of this stuff started in the 60s.
It was like this Indian guru type figure, and he led a lot of white people and Indian people alike.
I'm not sure what
They're all dressed in red all the time. I forget the name of the show, sorry.
Yeah. Could be. Could be.
Anyway.
Also happening around this time, Dr. David E. Smith sets up the Haight-Ashbury Free Clinic, the mysterious Haight-Ashbury Free Clinic, while our boy Charles Manson is getting out of Terminal Island Prison and beginning his ill-fated, maniacal guru-musician quest and his Manson family build-up, first stopping in Berkeley, California, before heading to the Haight-Ashbury district of San Francisco. Manson is penning his song, Look at Your Game Girl, while crossing paths with Beach Boy Dennis Wilson, then moving his family onto Spahn Ranch, where Manson's helter-skelter preaching is in full swing. Also going strong at this time is the Process Church of the Final Judgment, preaching its come as you are message and urging members to release the inner fiend and be the best they can be, while members of their designated categories, Lucifer, Satan, Jehovah, and Christ. Hopefully I've set the scene of the Zodiac's 1967 and 1968. For an even more in-depth understanding of this time, including what was happening in San Francisco and more on the Haight-Ashbury Free Clinic, listen to Supernatural Occurrence Studies Podcast episodes 84, 94, 95, and 96. That's our Laurel Canyon episode, as well as all 3 Charles Manson episodes. The times were crazy, to say the least. And this is exactly where we find ourselves when the first Zodiac killings take place. The first confirmed Zodiac murders were that of a young couple on their first date, 17-year-old David Faraday and 16-year-old Betty Lou Jensen. That's a really 60s name.
Betty?
Betty Lou.
Betty Lou.
Faraday and Jensen were sitting in a Rumbler station wagon, which was parked on a quiet, lonely gravel turnoff on Lake Herman Road in Benicia, just outside Vallejo, California, when they were ambushed and shot to death right before Christmas on December 20th, 1968, between 11:05 and 11:10 p.m. It's believed the Zodiac pulled right up to the Rambler and ordered the couple out of the vehicle by pointing a .22 caliber handgun at them and firing 2 warning shots into the car. Once outside, the Zodiac shot David Faraday through the lower portion of his left ear, causing a fatal brain injury. Betty Lou Jensen was found approximately 33 feet behind the Rambler, shot 5 times in the right side of her back. We're not sure, but either Betty Lou tried to run in desperation, or the Zodiac ordered her to run, and then shot her, like he was toying with her. Either way, the result is the same. Young, innocent life lost. And here's where it gets pretty foggy. There were multiple eyewitnesses that night who all claimed to have seen different cars with differing number of male occupants inside, in and around the Lake Herman Road area, while Faraday and Jensen were parked in their Rambler. Some witnesses claimed they saw a white Chevy Impala parked very near the couple's Rambler. There was a red truck seen leaving the scene very near the time the murders took place, which may or may not have belonged to local hunters. And this vehicle would have contained 2 people, the hunters. Another witness traveling Lake Herman Road claims to have seen Faraday Jensen Rambler sitting parked with another vehicle parked next to it about 4 feet away, but the vehicle in question couldn't be described, but this witness claims both vehicles were empty. And yet another young couple, William Crow and his girlfriend, told police that a blue Valiant actually chased them from Lake Herman Road, where they were parked while Crow was tweaking the engine of his girlfriend's new sports car, and where Jensen and Faraday were also parked in the Rambler, and that the Valiant pursued them hard, almost seeming to try and run them off the road at one point. Crowe said that there were 2 white men in the vehicle, and although the passenger couldn't be identified, he said the driver had short hair and glasses. There's even speculation about the bullet casings found at the crime scene. The majority of casings found were Winchester Western Super X brand, but apparently one casing didn't match, which said to authorities that one bullet may have been fired from a different gun altogether, the gun used to kill Faraday, indicating that there were actually 2 shooters that night. But again, this theory has never been proven.
Also, isn't it like a makeout point?
Yeah, it's kind of a makeout point, exactly.
Right, so a lot of cars in and out.
Yes.
It makes sense why the confusion of a lot of cars, probably.
Could be.
Because those are, as long as it's nighttime, at any time, right?
Yep.
Kind of thing.
Yep.
Yep.
Then, just before midnight on July 4th, 1969, while sitting inside a parked car in a parking lot at Blue Rock Springs Park near Vallejo, California, about 4 miles from where the Faraday Jensen murders took place just 7 months prior, 22-year-old Darlene Ferrin and 19-year-old Mike Mageau watched as a car, a Chevy Corvair or a Ford Mustang, pulled in near their car, about 10 feet behind them. The driver turned off his lights, then exited his vehicle carrying a flashlight, and, unbeknownst to Ferrin and Mageau, a 9mm Luger handgun. Thinking this was a police officer because of his flashlight and casual demeanor, Michael Mageau took out his identification as the man strolled to their car. Instead of asking for license and registration, the stranger fired a volley of 9 bullets at point-blank range into the vehicle through the passenger window. When the shooting began, Michael lunged into the backseat of the car to try to avoid the shooter, but to no avail. Michael and Darlene were struck several times. As the man walked away, believing the couple was dead, he heard Mageau cry out in pain or in anger. The killer then promptly walked back to the vehicle and shot both victims 2 more times. The killer then got back into his car and quietly drove away. Michael managed to stumble out of the car, and he collapsed in the parking lot just outside the car door. And that's how police found him. And unbelievably, he was still alive and wound up living, even after receiving the brunt of the killer's shots. Darlene Ferrin, however, wasn't so lucky. She was pronounced dead upon arrival at Kaiser Hospital at 12:38 a.m. that morning. Meanwhile, Michael Mageau, from his hospital bed and riddled with bullet holes, was able to give a detailed description of the shooter. It was a white male, approximately 5 feet 8 inches tall, with a beefy build, muscular beefy, not fat beefy, about 195 to 200 pounds, with short curly hair that was light brown, almost blonde. He added that although the man was not wearing glasses, Michael stressed that the shooter's face was particularly large. Now, about 40 minutes after the Ferrin-Mageau shooting, a man called the Vallejo Police Department from a payphone near Darlene Ferrin's home and claimed credit for the attack. The caller even knew the caliber of weapon used in the murders, a 9mm Luger. The caller also claimed responsibility for the Faraday Jensen shootings, which took place just 7 months earlier on Lake Herman Road, also near Vallejo, California, the first murder we talked about. The caller's exact words to the Vallejo police dispatcher, named Nancy Slover, one of the very few people to ever have actually spoken to the Zodiac, his words to Nancy were, quote, "I want to report a double murder. If you go 1 mile east on Columbus Parkway to the park, you will find the kids in a brown car. They were shot with a 9mm Luger. I also killed those kids last year. Goodbye." End quote. Now all was quiet for just about a month. No word from the Zodiac, and no killings that we know of. When suddenly, in 3 handwritten letters, along with 3 ciphers, postmarked July 31st, 1969, the Zodiac spoke to his public. Each of the Zodiac's 3 letters were sent to various newspapers: the Vallejo Times-Herald, the San Francisco Chronicle, and the San Francisco Examiner. Now, In the letter the Zodiac sent to the Vallejo Times-Herald, he claimed responsibility for the 2 shootings, the Faraday Jensen shooting on December 20th, 1968, and the Ferrin Mageau shooting on July 4th, 1969, as well as provided details about the victims, the weapons, the number of shots fired, and the brand of ammunition. So the letter writer was definitely the suspect. A third of the Zodiac cipher, his total cipher, collectively known as the Z408 cipher, was included with each letter sent to the 3 newspapers. The Zodiac's exact words in the letter sent to the Vallejo Times-Herald read, quote, "I am the killer of the 2 teenagers last Christmas at Lake Herman and the girl last 4th of July. To prove this, I shall state some facts only I and the police know. Christmas. 1. Brand name of ammo, Super X. 2. 10 shots fired. 3. Boy was on back, feet to car. 4. Girl was lying on right side, feet to west. 4th of July. 1. Girl was wearing patterned pants. 2. Boy was also shot in knee. 3. Brand name of ammo was Western. Here is a cipher, or that is, part of one. The other 2 parts have been mailed to the SF Examiner and the SF Chronicle. I want you to publish the cipher on your front page by Friday afternoon, August 1st, 1969. If you do not do this, I will go on a kill rampage, Friday night, that will last the whole weekend. I will cruise around and pick of all stray people or couples that are alone, then move on to kill some more until I have killed over a dozen people." End quote. There's spelling errors in this, so
Like fry.
Fry
With a Y.
Yeah. And pick of all the straight people instead of pick off all the straight people. So I'm just reading it as it was. Now, the letter was signed with a crossed circle. And it's important to note that at this time, the killer wasn't yet known as the Zodiac. Even though I've called him the Zodiac, he's still not the Zodiac.
Yeah, he names himself that
He
later,
does.
later on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the letter sent to the San Francisco Chronicle was nearly identical to the one sent to the Vallejo Times-Herald. The description of the victims and bullets used were the same. The threat that if his cipher was not published front page by August 1, a dozen more, that was the same. A dozen people would die, that was the same. And just like the previous letter, a third of a part of his Z408 cipher was also included. There was, however, one major difference. In this letter, the San Francisco Chronicle letter, the killer wrote that if his cipher was solved, his identity would be revealed. To quote the letter, quote, "In this cipher is my identity," end quote. The letter was signed with a crossed circle. In the third letter, the one sent to the San Francisco Examiner, once again, the Zodiac not yet Zodiac stated facts from his crimes just like the other 2 letters, and he threatened to kill 12 more people if his ciphers weren't published front page by August 1, just like the others. This letter also contained a third piece of his Z408 cipher and was signed with a crossed circle. Now, as I said, collectively, the 3 pieces of the cipher are called the Z408 cipher, where 408 represents the number of symbols in the cipher. And we'll talk about what the cipher said in the next episode, but for now, I'll leave a link to the cipher in the show notes. Can any of our listeners crack it? Now, the newspapers did run the Zodiac cipher, while at the same time questioning if the letter writer and cipher designer really was the killer. And if so, the newspaper requested more information about the killings from the writer. In response to the request for more information, on August 4th, 1969, a month after the attack on Mageau and Ferrin, the killer sent what is known as the Debut of Zodiac letter to the San Francisco Examiner. The letter contained 3 pages of smudged, scrawling handwriting and read, quote, "Dear Editor, this is the Zodiac speaking. In answer to you asking for more details about the good times I've had in Vallejo, I shall be very happy to supply even more material. By the way, are the police having a good time with the code? If not, tell them to cheer up. When they do crack it, they will have me. On the 4th of July, I did not open the car door. The window was rolled down already. The boy was originally sitting in the front seat when I began firing. When I fired the first shot at his head, he leapt backwards at the same time, thus spoiling my aim. He ended up on the back seat, then on the floor in the back, thrashing out violently with his legs. That's how I shot him in the knee. I did not leave the scene of the killing with squealing tires and racing engine, as described in the Vallejo paper. I drove away quietly, so as to not draw attention to my car. The man who told police that my car was brown was a Negro, about 40 to 45, rather shabbily dressed. I was in this phone booth having some fun with the Vallejo cop when he was walking by. When I hung up the phone, the damn thing began to ring, and that drew his attention to me and my car. Last Christmas, in that episode, the police were wondering how I could shoot and hit my victims in the dark. They did not openly state this, but implied this by saying it was a well-lit night, and I could see silhouettes on the horizon. Bullshit. That area is surrounded by high hills and trees. What I did was tape a small pencil flashlight to the barrel of my gun. If you notice, in the center of the beam of light, if you aim it at a wall or ceiling, you will see a black or dark spot in the center of the circle, about 3 to 6 inches across. When taped to a gun barrel, the bullet will strike the center of the black dot in the light. All I had to do was spray them as if it was a water hose. There was no need to use the gun sights. I was not happy to see that I did not get front page coverage. End quote. Whew. He's a wordy motherfucker. He writes a lot of writes words. At the end of the letter, the killer inserted his Zodiac symbol, the cross circle, along with the words, "no address." It's pretty creepy stuff. In this letter, the killer, for the first time, refers to himself as the Zodiac. I think it's interesting that he named himself instead of investigators naming him, like they usually do in strange cases like this. But no, our boy wanted the world to know that he is the Zodiac, and unfortunately, the Zodiac was not done killing.
In that regard, he's kind of unique because not many killers get to name themselves.
No, it's the cops who come up with these cute names that stick in the public's head.
Right.
Keep it fresh in their memories at all times.
Hell, even in fictionalized versions of, or archetypal, based on real people kind of movies about serial killers, is like, it's always like a funny gimmick or a funny backstory or humor backstory about, some cop in some small town said something and it stuck, and now he's that guy. He's known as, I don't know, Buffalo Bill, for example.
Right. Silence of the Lambs.
Right.
Yeah, and that name, it stays in the public's mind.
Right.
It keeps the public alert and
it's like a pop song. If it's catchy or whatever, it'll remember, right?
Yes,
people will call you that.
Exactly right.
Same thing, like, oh yeah, actually, Tooth Fairy from the old movie Manhunter.
Oh,
he hated that name. He got named by that by the tabloids. Remember?
That's right. Yeah.
It's like that.
It's so interesting. Now next, on September 27th, 1969, around 6:30 p.m., while picnicking on the shorelines of Lake Berryessa, about 30 miles north of Napa, California, 20-year-old Bryan Hartnell and his girlfriend, Cecelia Shepard, 22 years old, were viciously and mercilessly attacked by a gun-carrying, knife-wielding man wearing a black shirt, a black executioner's mask, dark sunglasses over the executioner's mask, dark pants, and dark boots.
He must have stuck out like a sore thumb in the daylight there by a lake.
Yeah, and in all of the composite sketches I've seen from this event, this killer also had a symbol on his chest, a large circle with a cross through it.
Yeah, it probably looked like religious to people who didn't know about that symbol, right?
Oh, it had to be the scariest thing.
Also, it looks like the cover of some sort of like metal band, Norwegian death black metal band.
Oh, when the Zodiac's fully dressed up?
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
They also portrayed him in American Horror Story Hotel, when all the serial killers had that midnight round table, and the Zodiac comes walking in, and everyone stops and looks at him. Even all the other serial killers stop and look at him. He's wearing this full get-up, the full garb, with that symbol, the symbol that would forever be known as the Zodiac's call sign. The same sign left at the bottom of his 4 letters sent to the newspapers. The police sketch of the Zodiac in full regalia is truly frightening. So, of course, I'll leave a link in the show notes so you can see him for yourself. Now, even though the Zodiac was carrying a gun, the gun was never fired in this case. Instead, the Zodiac, using his wooden-handled 12-inch bladed knife, that's what he used on the couple. Mm-hmm. The couple was tied up at gunpoint, and there's two versions to this tying up of the victims. In one version, the Zodiac forced Cecelia to tie up her boyfriend, Bryan, by binding his hands, and then the Zodiac tied up Cecelia. In another version, the Zodiac tied up both Cecelia and Bryan with lengths of pre-cut rope. He already had it on him, cut to perfect size. But I guess at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter, because when the couple was ultimately tied up, that's when the carnage began. The Zodiac stabbed Bryan Hartnell 6 times in the back, and he stabbed Cecelia Shepard 10 times, 5 times in the front and 5 times in the back. Once finished, the Zodiac slowly walked away and disappeared, leaving the couple for dead. Sometime later, after some fishermen heard screams coming from the shores of Lake Berryessa, and the police were called, investigators discovered that the killer, before totally disappearing, had written a message on the door of Bryan Hartnell's Volkswagen Carmen Ghia. It's a brand of car. The message the killer left gave the exact dates of the Faraday, Jensen, and the Ferrin Mageau attacks, and the date of the Hartnell Shepard attack, along with the time 6:30 and the words, "by knife." The killer signed his message with a crossed circle. And I'll leave a link to this message in the show notes so you can see it. Now, Cecelia Shepard, she lived for 2 days, even after being stabbed by a 12-inch blade 10 times, but she would ultimately die from her wounds. Bryan Hartnell, on the other hand, made a full recovery, and I believe he now practices law in Southern California. Anyway, at the Hartnell Shepard crime scene, investigators discovered a size 10.5 footprint, indicating that the attacker was likely over 210 pounds. And that's all they got, besides a useless fingerprint. And just like the other attacks we talk about, this one, too, is still unsolved.
Why was it useless? Fingerprint?
It didn't match anything.
Oh, like the databases, you mean?
Nothing.
Okay. So someone who hasn't been...
You're going to see that a few times in this story.
So probably someone who hasn't been either arrested at all or arrested in the state of California. Because I think back then they didn't have them, like, globalized.
No, it wasn't global.
It wasn't, right.
You're going to see that a few times in the story. They get fingerprints, palm prints.
Also, and I don't know if
it doesn't come to anything.
And I don't know if this is part of your coverage exactly, but, I mean, right now, even if I didn't know anything about Zodiac, which is what I know is not as much as you, but it's not nothing. Because I know these details are ringing like a bell for me. It sounds familiar. Yeah. Is that the pattern so far, it seems like he's really after the women.
That's a theory.
Like he's shooting more bullet holes into them. He's stabbing them more times. They seem like they die for sure, and the males maybe die because they're like an afterthought.
That's a great observation, and that's definitely a theory. And who does this... I mean, just so far what you're hearing, who does this sound like?
You mean someone specific that we know?
Someone that we've talked about.
We talked about so many killers. I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank. Okay, Son of Sam. She just drew me a blank. I'm like, how many killers do we talk about?
Parked cars.
Yeah.
Well, except for this stabbing.
Different coast, but yeah.
Different coast, yeah. But remember the web. Remember the web. Now, interestingly, in this particular murder, at one time, serial killer Ted Bundy was actually thought to have committed the attack. Ted Bundy, but he was later cleared of having been the culprit. And just like the Ferrin Mageau attack, there were witnesses involved in this case, too. A few hours before the ambush attack on Hartnell and Shepard, 3 women saw a strange man lurking around the Lake Berryessa area, and they gave a detailed description to the police of which a composite sketch was drawn. And I'll leave a link in the show notes to that sketch. So is this drawing, this police sketch, of the actual Zodiac Killer? Or is this just a sketch of some poor guy seen at the wrong place at the wrong time? We'll likely never know. Now, later that evening, around 7:40 p.m., a man called the Napa Police Department to report a double murder. The caller described Bryan Hartnell's car, directed police to the crime scene, and confessed that, quote, "I'm the one who did it." This case is just so creepy. Just try to imagine you're in one of the most beautiful parts of the country, near Napa, California, You're having a romantic...
It's like wine area, right? It's very winey.
Wine country. You're having a romantic picnic with your love on the shore of a beautiful lake. Maybe sipping a little wine. It's a beautiful day. The sun is shining, the temperature perfect, birds are singing. When suddenly this thing, clothed in all black and wearing an executioner's mask, comes out of nowhere, points a gun at you, and starts making demands. And then blood. Lots of blood. I can't even put myself there. It's just so crazy.
What's hard for me to imagine is him, like, I assume before or maybe after, right? No, I assume actually it's after. After he's done stabbing, murdering, killing, tying up, shooting. The Zodiac or / whoever else, it's like, you know, obviously usually walks away, but stops. Like, it has to. Did you imagine him taking notes? Okay, the car is this make and model. The guy's facing west, so that way he can, like.
Yeah, right.
Right. Does he stop?
Knows exact.
Or is that like one of those things? Like, if you do such a specifically monumentous, heinous, anti-natural act, like killing someone, does that like burn into your memory better? You know what I'm saying?
I don't know.
Or maybe he just has a good memory. That could just be that, right?
Or was someone else there taking notes?
Right? Or something like that. Or he's taking pictures, maybe.
Maybe
and he's
alone.
that car was over there. Okay.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Yeah, feet facing west. Wearing patterned pants.
Right.
This is how many shots I fired. And, you know, it's crazy. Just crazy. And unfortunately, it still wasn't done. Just about 2 weeks after the Hartnell Shepard attack, on October 11th, 1969, the Zodiac struck again. This time, the victim was a 29-year-old cab driver named Paul Stein, the Zodiac's last known victim. At around 9:55 p.m., Paul Stein was murdered in his cab at the northeast corner of Washington and Cherry Streets in the Presidio Heights neighborhood of San Francisco.
Yep.
Stein was shot once in the head at point-blank range by an unknown passenger.
From the back, right?
From the back. It said the gun that was used was a 9mm semi-automatic, but interestingly, not the same 9mm used in the Ferrin Mageau attack. But a front-page news story from the San Francisco Chronicle that I read said the gun used was a .38 caliber revolver. That should ring familiar to some listeners.
Why did
38 caliber killer. Again, we're referencing Son of Sam.
Right. No, what I'm saying is that why... I mean, it's not so strange. The guy's already been using different types of firearms,
possibly two different
already with the sharp, you know, with the knife,
different casings,
right? Tying some up, not like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Now here's possibly a .38 caliber revolver.
He's already changing everything.
I haven't been able to determine which is accurate. Was it a 9mm or a .38? But the large piece, but at this crime scene, a large piece of Stein's bloody shirt.
Yeah, the shirt.
The killer took nearly half of the back of this guy's shirt, which was carefully ripped off by the Zodiac. When police arrived on scene, Stein was found lying face up, stretched out across his cab's front seat, and his head, arms, and shoulders were hanging out of the passenger side door, arms dangling above his head like in a touchdown pose. Now, just like in the Ferrin Mageau and the Hartnell Shepard attacks, once again, there were eyewitnesses to this crime. Either the Zodiac was really bad at concealing his attacks, or he wanted witnesses. Either way, 3 people from a house situated at the southeast corner of the crime scene, which would have been about 60 feet away, they watched as the killer wiped the cab down after killing Stein, seemingly to remove any fingerprint evidence. Now, it was dark, and some reports say it was also a little foggy that night. It's San Francisco, after all. But the witnesses were able to give a detailed description of the suspect to police.
Weren't they kids?
They were younger, yeah.
Yeah.
They said the killer was a white male, 25 to 30 years old, 5 foot 8 inches to 5 foot 9 inches tall, stocky build, reddish-brown hair worn in a crew cut, heavy-rimmed glasses, and wearing dark clothing. And they said the killer was last seen casually walking north on Cherry Street. In a lot of ways, this description matches the Zodiac description the police already had. And I'll leave a link to this composite sketch in the show notes from these witnesses. Now, ultimately, based off the witness's description, a composite sketch was made in the form of a wanted poster and passed out heavily in the San Francisco area. Now, back inside the cab, police found bloody fingerprints, possibly belonging to the killer, along with a pair of men's leather gloves size 7. Now, the fingerprints could have been the killer's, but the crime scene was a cab, which hosts countless passengers every single day. So the fingerprints ultimately never led to anything. And here's where it gets even crazier. In a bizarre twist, the witnesses called police to report the murder, and they naturally described him as a white male, because that's what they saw. But somehow, police put out a call to officers to be on the lookout for a black male.
Yeah.
Now, when police were patrolling the area looking for the black suspect,
They totally walked past them.
two patrol officers, Donald Fook and Eric Zelms, passed a white male walking east on Jackson Street, very near the intersection where the killing occurred. But they didn't bother to stop and question him because he was white. It wasn't until the correct description was sent out over police radio that Fook and Zelms realized that the white male they passed on Jackson Street matched the new description. The officers described the guy as being 35 to 45 years old, 5 foot 10 inches tall, between 180 200 pounds, barrel-chested, with light-colored crew-cut hair and wearing glasses. Of course, by the time police realized the man they seen could have likely been their suspect, the actual Zodiac Killer, the suspect was long gone. Now this case, it gets even crazier. On October 13th, 1969, 2 days after killing the cabbie, the Zodiac sent a letter to the San Francisco Chronicle claiming credit for Paul Stein's murder, and the letter contained a piece of Stein's bloody shirt. In the letter, the Zodiac claimed he actually spoke to police the night of Stein's murder, and that he led the police in question astray, telling them that he saw a strange man walking in the complete opposite direction. And the Zodiac's referring to Officers Fook and Zelms. Of course, Officers Fook and Zelms denied the claim. And the letter from the Zodiac read exactly, quote, "This is the Zodiac speaking. I am the murderer of the taxi driver over by Washington Street and Maple Street last night. To prove this, here is a blood-stained piece of his shirt. I am the same man who did in the people in the North Bay area. SF police could have caught me last night if they had searched the park properly instead of holding road races with their motorcycles, seeing who could make the most noise.
Yeah.
The car drivers should have just parked their cars and sat there quietly waiting for me to come out of the cover. School children may make nice targets. I think I shall wipe out a school bus some morning. Just shoot out the front tires, then pick off the kiddies as they come bouncing out," end quote. And the letter was signed with the cross circle.
Wasn't it Cherry Street, not Maple?
Yes.
Did he in his letter put Maple? It was a reality Cherry? Because I thought, I don't know if I crossed.
Over by Washington Street and Maple Street. By Washington Street and Maple Street.
That's what he wrote, or that's what it
That's
actually
what he
was?
wrote.
Okay, but when you said it earlier, when you were describing the cabbie's death, or where he died, is that you said Cherry, I thought. Did I get it wrong? Or he got it wrong? You know what I'm saying? I thought I heard a different street, which is why I'm asking.
The northeast corner of Washington and Cherry Streets.
See?
Yeah.
So
No, that's what the information said. Washington and Cherry Streets.
Okay, I was making sure.
It
Maybe
said
it's
Washington and Maple.
Maybe they're next to each other. I don't know.
Could be. Ultimately, Paul Stein's murder has never been solved, and the San Francisco Police Department officially closed the case in 2004. The first time ever the San Francisco Police Department has closed an unsolved homicide investigation.
How do you close an unsolved? And what do you mean by closing?
Just stop researching it, closed, unsolved.
Okay.
First time, I guess. Since 1969, when Paul Stein was killed, tons of unsolved murders have been linked to the Zodiac. Same MO, similar descriptions, similar victim type, but none have been positively linked to the Zodiac, besides the murders and attempted murders we just covered. And we'll get into a few more murders that are possibly linked to the Zodiac, but before the Zodiac was the Zodiac, and after the Paul Stein killing. But, as far as we know, what we covered was it. The Zodiac killed Paul Stein, officially. His killing spree ended. After the Zodiac killed Paul Stein, officially his killing spree ended. Why? We don't know. Maybe he got caught and arrested and locked up for some other unrelated offense. Maybe he was killed for some reason. Maybe he was ordered to stop killing by someone with power and authority greater than his. Or maybe he just got bored. One thing's for certain, though. The Zodiac was not bored of talking.
Nope.
In an envelope sent to the San Francisco Chronicle, postmarked November 8th, 1969, the Zodiac sent another piece of Paul Stein's bloody shirt, along with a greeting card and another cipher. This cipher is known as Z340, as it contained 340 symbols. Or it's referred to as the dripping pen cipher, because the greeting card that accompanied the cipher featured a drawing of a wet-looking, dripping pen hanging from a rope. Cute. Again, we'll get into the Zodiac ciphers in the next episode, but the message written inside the greeting card read exactly, quote, "This is the Zodiac speaking. I thought you would need a good laugh before you hear the bad news. You won't get the news for a while yet. P.S. Could you print this new cipher on your front page? I get awfully lonely when I am ignored. So lonely I could do my thing," with 6 exclamation marks, end quote. The word thing was written in very heavy writing with accented with 6 exclamation points and underlined with 6 lines. The letter was signed with, you guessed it, a crossed circle. Also included in this letter were the words Des, July, Aug, possibly meaning December, July, August. And also included Sept, Oct equals 7. In other words, September, October equals 7, which authority believes could be a reference to more unidentified victims. The Zodiac must have been pretty lonely, because in a 7-page letter written to the San Francisco Chronicle, postmarked November 9th, 1969, the Zodiac's longest letter, he talks about, he talks about a lot of freaky shit, like a bomb he has, and he even included hand-drawn schematics of this bomb. The Zodiac's exact words were, this is a long one.
I know.
Quote, "This is the Zodiac speaking. Up to the end of October, I have killed 7 people. I have grown rather angry with the police for their telling lies about me. So I shall change the way the collecting of slaves." This is his writing. "So I shall change the way the collecting of slaves. I shall no longer announce to anyone when I commit my murders. They shall look like routine robberies, killings of anger, and a few fake accidents, etc. The police shall never catch me because I have been too clever for them. 1. I look like the description passed out only when I do my thing. The rest of the time, I look entirely different. I shall not tell you what my desire consists of when I kill. 2. As of yet, I have left no fingerprints behind, contrary to what the police say. In my killings, I wear transparent fingertip guards. All it is 2 coats of airplane cement coated on my fingertips, quite unnoticeable and quite effective. 3. My killing tools have been bought through the mail-order outfits before the ban went into effect. Except one, it was bought out of state. So as you see, the police don't have much to work on. If you wonder why I was wiping the cab down, I was leaving fake clues for the police to run all over town with. As one might say, I gave the cops some busy work to do to keep them happy. I enjoyed needling the blue pigs. Hey, blue pig, I was in the park. You were using fire trucks to mask the sounds of your cruising prowl cars. The dogs never came within 2 blocks of me, and they were to the west, and there was only 2 groups of parking about 10 minutes apart from the motorcycles. Went by about 150 feet away, going from south to northwest. P.S. 2 cops pulled a goof about 3 minutes after I left the cab. I was walking down the hill to the park when this cop pulled up, and one of them called me over and asked if I saw anyone acting suspicious or strange in the last 5 to 10 minutes. And I said yes. There was this thin man who was running by waving a gun, and the cops peeled rubber and went around the corner as I directed them, and I disappeared into a park 1.5 blocks away, never to be seen again. Hey, pig, doesn't it rile you up to have your nose rubbed in your boo-boos? If you cops think I'm going to take on a bust the way I stated I was, you deserve to have holes in your heads. Take one bag of ammonium nitrate fertilizer and 1 gallon of stove oil and damp a few bags of gravel on top, and then set the shit off, and will positively ventilate anything that should be in the way of the blast. The death machine is already made. I would have sent you pictures, but you would be nasty enough to trace them back to developer and then to me. So I shall describe my masterpiece to you. The nice part of it is all the parts can be bought on the open market with no question asked. End quote. Then he goes on to describe the schematics of the bomb, which he drew and included with this letter. And see the episode show notes for the schematic.
Real quick, that part you mentioned about him, or he mentioned, I guess, that he wore fingertip guards.
Yeah.
Made me think of, I could see like, not David Fincher, maybe it was him, but at least maybe the screenwriter for the movie Seven, who was a different person. Not David Fincher, I forget his name. It's like a 3-part name, I forget. One of the things about Seven is that the killer peels off his fingertips with a razor.
Oh,
so
yeah.
that way there's like blood everywhere, but they never can identify who he is. Never any fingerprints anywhere. No one knows who he is, even when they catch him, because no one can fingerprint him. He never gives his name.
Wow.
Remember? Kind of reminds me like this, like
that,
the next step level. Like they read this and they took it to the next level version.
They might have.
You know,
they might have. That's pretty ingenious,
right? Yeah,
little airplane glue on the tips of your fingers.
Yeah,
smart guy. Well, this 7-page letter went on. Now he describes the bomb he made, and again, check the show notes for the schematics that he drew. It says, "Quote 1, bat," and I'm reading this as he wrote it. Right, 1 bat-powered clock will run for approximately 1 year. 1 photoelectric switch. 2 copper leaf springs. 2 6-volt car battery, 1 flashlight bulb and reflector, 1 mirror, 2 18-inch cardboard tube blocks with shoe polish inside and outside. The system checks out from one end to the other in my tests. What you do not know is whether the death machine is at the site or whether it is being stored in my basement for future use. I think you do not have the manpower to stop this one by continually searching the roadsides for this thing. And it won't do to repeat and reschedule the buses because the bomb can be adapted to new conditions. Have fun. By the way, it could be rather messy to try and bluff me. P.S. Be sure to print the part I marked out on page 3, or I shall do my thing. To prove I am the Zodiac, ask the Vallejo cop about my electric gun sight, which I used to start my collecting of slaves." End quote. This letter, of course, was signed with a cross circle.
Mm-hmm.
And the parts the Zodiac insisted be printed in the paper, the one on page 3, it's where he describes officers speaking to him the night of the Paul Stein cab murder. And this is an obvious shout-out to Officers Donald Fook and Eric Zelms. They had him, talked to him, but the Zodiac convinced the 2 cops that he was someone else.
Not to mention the description, they were looking for a black male. Yep. That probably goes a long way, too.
Yeah. And God, there's so many letters. Only a few more, I promise. In a letter sent to a famous attorney named Melvin Belli, postmarked December 20th, 1969, the Zodiac wrote something entirely different in very neat print, as all of his other letters were sloppy and scrawling. Now Belli, this lawyer, he had clients like Zsa Zsa Gabor, Muhammad Ali, the Rolling Stones, Jim and Tammy Faye Baker, and a whole lot of more celebrities as clients. So he was actually the attorney for Jack Ruby, the guy who shot and killed Lee Harvey Oswald.
He was the attorney for Jack Ruby when after he got arrested for killing Oswald. So not like before, for other things. Okay.
Yeah, so this was a big shot, this guy.
Yeah.
So yes, Belli was definitely high profile, and Belli is going to come back up here later in this episode. Now, the letter to Melvin Belli read, quote, "This is the Zodiac speaking. I wish you a happy Christmas. The one thing I ask of you is this. Please help me. I cannot reach out for help because of this thing in me won't let me. I am finishing it I'm fine-sing is what he wrote.
Nice.
It's hard to read these letters.
I think it's Swedish for finishing.
Yeah, right. I'm finding it extremely difficult to hold it in check. I am afraid I will lose control again and take my 9th and possibly 10th victim. Please help me. I'm drowning. Drowning, yes. At the moment, the children are safe from the bomb because it is so massive to dig in, and the trigger mech requires much work to get it adjusted just right. But if I hold back too long from No 9, I will lose all control of myself and set the bomb up. Please help me. I cannot remain in control for much longer. End quote. Signed with the cross circle. Now, here's the crazy thing with Belli. Forced by the Zodiac, Belli was actually forced by the Zodiac to appear on a local San Francisco talk show on October 22nd, 1969.
Yeah, that's right.
Melvin Belli spoke with the Zodiac live on air, and the segment was introduced by none other than Walter Cronkite. I'll leave a link to a transcription of the on-air conversation between the Zodiac and Belli in the show notes. But for now, Oscar, could we play a quick bite from that interview so the listeners could hear the supposed Zodiac's voice? Just warning, it's pretty creepy. Can we play that real quick?
Just tell us what's going on inside you right now, Sam, please.
I have headaches.
Right.
How long have you had those headaches, Sam? In a long time? Since I killed a kid.
Now, I know it's rough audio, and that's the interview, not our editing. But during the conversation, the Zodiac says his name is Sam. Sam.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know.
Unfortunately, it's also very common.
It is.
Yeah, it's both those things.
Now, the interviewers, Belli, for example, go on to ask about the headaches. And the Zodiac says his headaches began when he killed a kid. What kid? Who knows? The audio goes on for about 2.5 minutes, during which the Zodiac screams a number of times and claims the screams are his headaches talking. The caller also yells out, "He's going to kill those kids." And check out the link. The transcript is pretty creepy stuff. And then the letter was sent to Belli in December. And I forgot to mention, the letter that was sent to Belli, it contained a piece of Paul Stein's bloody shirt. So even though the tone was a lot different in the Belli letter, and the writing looked different, much cleaner, the letter definitely was from the Zodiac because it had Paul Stein's shirt. Now, as far as the caller on the talk show, people who heard the real Zodiac, like surviving victim Bryan Hartnell and Vallejo police dispatcher Nancy Slover, they claimed that the Sam who called in claiming to be the Zodiac was an imposter. No one knows for sure, but this Sam caller was never caught, as he thwarted police attempts to trace his call by repeatedly hanging up and calling back into the television station. It's believed the caller was actually a mental patient calling from a hospital somewhere. I think near Oakland, California, they said. Others claim the caller was really a man named Eric Wheel, a really strange, sort of stalker-like celebrity photographer. Maybe it was Zodiac, maybe it wasn't. Now, in a letter to the San Francisco Chronicle, postmarked April 20th, 1970, the Zodiac included his shortest cipher, just 13 symbols. And right before the 13 symbols, the Zodiac wrote, quote, "My name is ... implying once again that if the code could be broken, his identity would finally be revealed. Now, this coded message, the shortest one, is referred to as the Z13 cipher. In the letter accompanying the Z13 cipher, the Zodiac included a diagram of a bomb designed to kill school children on a bus. In his letter, he also denied any part in a bomb that exploded at a police station that killed an officer, referring to the deceased officer as a blue meanie.
Blue meanie?
Blue meanie.
Okay.
So the Zodiac must have been a Beatles fan, because the term blue meanie is a direct reference to the main antagonists in the Beatles' 1968 cartoon movie, Yellow Submarine. In Yellow Submarine, the blue meanies are music-hating buffoons, and were written into the movie to represent all the bad people in the world. Also in this letter, the Zodiac claims to have killed 10 people up to this point, and actually says in a postscript that he hopes the police have fun trying to figure out who else he has killed, because up to this point, officially, the Zodiac has killed 5. And to sign off, the Zodiac penned his little cross circle along with an equals 10 next to it. And next to that, he penned SFPD equals 0. Basically saying that the Zodiac has 10 kills and the San Francisco Police Department has nothing. Cocky, this guy. In yet another letter, more like a greeting card sent to the San Francisco Chronicle, postmarked April 20th, 1970, the Zodiac demanded the printing of his bomb threats and insisted that the people of San Francisco wear buttons emblazoned with his now infamous Zodiac sign, the cross circle. In a letter sent to the Chronicle, dated June 26, 1970, the Zodiac included a map of San Francisco Bay Area with a cross circle on the peak of Mount Diablo, along with a 32-symbol cipher that, if broken, would lead to the location of his bomb. In this letter, the Zodiac also claimed to have killed again, and he also whines about the people of San Francisco not wearing his little Zodiac buttons. Letter to the Chronicle, postmarked July 24th, 1970. The Zodiac continues to complain about people not wearing his tchotchke bullshit buttons, as well as claims responsibility for the attempted abduction of a pregnant woman and her child on March 22nd, 1970. His words were, quote, "The woman and her baby that I gave a rather interesting ride for a couple of hours one evening a few months back," end quote. More on that in the next episode. That little...
Yes.
Yeah, that little...
I know about that one.
Yes. July 26, 1970, letter to the Chronicle from the Zodiac, which talked about his stupid buttons again, but goes on to explain that he will torture the 13 slaves he has waiting for him in paradise if people don't start wearing his goddamn buttons. This fucking guy. He goes into great detail about how he'll torture his slaves. Quote, "Some I shall tie over anthills and watch them scream and twist and squirm. Others shall have splinters driven under their nails and then burned. Others shall be placed in cages and fed salt beef until they are gorged. Then I shall listen to their pleas for water and I shall laugh at them. Others will hang by their thumbs. Others I shall skin them alive and let them run around screaming. All this and more he'll do to his slaves if people don't wear his buttons." The Zodiac also claims the Mount Diablo code he sent in his previous letter, the 13 symbols, concerns radians. Now, I had to look it up, but radians means a unit of angle equal to an angle at the center of a circle whose arc is equal in length to the radius. That's what radians means.
Like a math thing.
Yeah, math thing.
That's all I heard is math thing. I have no idea what the hell he said.
Whatever that means to the Zodiac, I have no idea. Anyway, this letter concludes with the Zodiac claiming 13 kills and San Francisco Police Department 0, as in 0 information.
But only still 5 confirmed, right?
5 confirmed.
Right. They go by facts, bros.
Letters were sent made up of newspaper clippings. A Halloween card was sent to Paul Avery of the Chronicle on October 27, 1970.
Not Paul Avery.
Did I say...
No, I'm not Paul Avery.
Yeah, oh, yeah. Which featured a smiling skeleton on the front with the text that read, "I feel it in my bones. You ache to know my name, so I will clue you in." That's what it said on the cover of this card. And on the inside, the card read, "But why spoil the game?" The Zodiac had written the number 14, as in 14, well, he wrote it 4-teen, number 4, and then teen. Word teen, as in 14, a possible reference to him claiming yet more victims. On the backside of the card, the words "Paradise Slaves" were written in a cross formation, with the words intersecting at the A in slaves. Written all around Paradise Slaves, the Zodiac had printed "by fire, by gun, by knife, by dice, by rope." This guy is dramatic.
Yeah,
He's a dramatic guy.
Yeah.
And the letters, of course, continued, some rambling, some claiming responsibility for various crimes. In a letter sent to the Chronicle and postmarked January 29, 1974, the Zodiac said he saw The Exorcist and claimed it was the best satirical comedy he had ever seen. He closed this letter with Zodiac equals 37 and SFPD equals 0, insinuating he had killed 37 people up to this point in 1974. This is the last known official Zodiac letter. After that, he went completely dark, for whatever reason, and was never caught. Other letters were sent out, to be sure, but their authenticity is severely questioned and believed likely copycats.
Copycats, right.
Yep. And nothing more. Thankfully, no bombs went off, no busloads of kids were killed, and as far as we know, no one else was laid to rest by the Zodiac Killer. Now, not surprisingly, over the last 50-plus years since the first known Zodiac killing, the case has captivated people worldwide, as it's considered the number one unsolved American criminal mystery, kind of like America's Jack the Ripper. And unmasking the Zodiac, his cryptic letters, and especially breaking the Zodiac ciphers, has gripped true crime buffs and both experts and amateur code crackers for decades. Now, as far as the Zodiac Killer case today, in 2004, the case was marked inactive by San Francisco PD, effectively closing the Zodiac case, even though people still call in to the police with tips to this day, and witnesses are still alive. However, in 2018, after a man named Joseph James D'Angelo, a.k.a. the Golden State Killer, a.k.a. the East Area Rapist, a.k.a. the original Night Stalker, after D'Angelo was apprehended 42 years after his killing and rape spree ended by tracing his DNA through genealogy websites, a new interest has arisen in solving the Zodiac case. And from what I could tell, the case is open once again. Authorities are trying to acquire DNA evidence from envelope seals and stamps, both hopefully licked by the Zodiac over 50 years ago, hoping a full DNA profile of the Zodiac can be attained, then run through genealogy sites, which will hopefully produce the same results that led to Joseph D'Angelo, the Golden State Killer, being apprehended. In 2018, investigators in Vallejo, California sent 2 envelopes that contained Zodiac letters to a private lab in hopes of acquiring DNA samples from the stamps. Nothing has been released yet from this DNA search. Time will tell if authorities come up with anything solid. And I'm waiting with bated breath.
All right. That motherfucker. He's just a weirdo.
Yeah,
but
that's a lot of crazy stuff.
I just wanted to point out before whatever that surprisingly, the David Fincher movie from the late aughts, 2007 or 8 or something, maybe earlier, with Jake Gyllenhaal and so on. That movie is surprisingly accurate to a lot of the details you were giving. Now, they don't say the whole, like the long list where he's talking about the bombs and the specifics. Even in the movie, they don't mention all that, but they mention the big bullet points in the movie.
Yes, and I wasn't sure how many letters to get into. Yeah. But once I started, I couldn't stop. I'm like, they would want to hear about this, or listeners would want to hear this.
When you were describing like the details of what people saw on the I think the second couple's murder over the Lover's Lane area, right? When you talk about like the people and the cars that were around there, like the red truck, that's in the movie too. I see that movie.
I want to watch it again.
I watch that movie like every year because it's a really great deconstruction. It's like a great serial killer movie that isn't at all showing you the serial killer angle. I mean, it is. But it's mainly to the victim sides because no one knows who the killer is. That's the whole point. Right. It's like a puzzle for the main character, which is the Jake Gyllenhaal character. And the movie, based on what you said, does a really good job of those details. So if you want to check it out, people out there, it's a good. It
is a good. I remember really enjoying the movie. Definitely. I just didn't have time to watch it while I was.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
But yeah, definitely check it out. It's great.
Anyway, what were you going to say, Katie?
Well, I just kind of wanted the story to kind of lay out and soak up what you were saying and kind of ponder it. One, I wanted to say that, I was kind of looking up the symbol, and I noticed that there's a couple meanings. There's one that stated spiritual of the whole body, the spiritual as a whole. The Celtic was a solar cross. about the natural balance of a person. But what kind of triggered, especially with all of this stuff about the slaves, that it's
his collecting
also
of the slaves.
Yeah, that it is also. Oops, sorry, hold on.
Katie, go.
He was supposed to open. Hold on, I don't want to say it wrong.
No, it's okay.
Okay, it's also a general hate symbol.
Really?
Yes, white supremacist version of the Celtic cross, which consists of a square cross interlocking with a surrounded by a circle, and it's very similar.
No, I'm looking at that. That's the Zodiac symbol.
Yes.
And that's exactly what it is.
So that kind of goes hand in hand a little bit if he's talking about slaves.
Yeah, but I don't think he's talking about those kind of slaves.
Oh, okay.
He's talking about like kind of like how.
Because to me, it's confusing.
This is the way I think of it every time I hear it, because I've heard that before. I guess from the movie or a documentary, seen in Zodiac or whatever, is that it reminds me, and this is not a bad thing, it just reminds me of it, how like people say when Muslims die, that you get like,
I forgot what the harem number is. But
you get harem and the afterlife
100 women
for being a good Muslim in this life.
That's the way.
That's how it seems like.
That's the way
At least
I take it. Yeah.
he is making his own, or like Nightmare on Elm Street. I think did a spin on that a little bit in one of the movies.
Say it again.
Nightmare on Elm Street did a little spin on that, like
Did they?
the
Oh,
children
cool.
of all the collection of souls he gets and kills and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
He does whatever he wants to them.
That makes sense.
But
That's how it feels like.
Yeah, but good looking, because I forgot to look up meanings of the symbol.
No worries.
And what really
Also looks like
strikes
crosshairs.
me-
That's what I thought.
crosshairs as well.
Right,
Yeah, and he's
right.
using a gun, right?
Right.
But when she mentioned hate and white supremacy, if listeners go back to the Charlie Manson episodes, it could be episode 2 and 3, probably focusing on 3, when we talk about the Process Church, that the Process Church did have supremacist
It was 3.
leanings.
It was 3, I think.
Yeah.
so
Supremacist
maybe he's a
leanings.
follower.
We don't know yet. I'm spinning the web here.
He's spinning so much.
I'm
He's so
spinning the web
dizzy. He
here.
doesn't even know where he is.
So that's a really good connection on that symbol with white power hate sort of thing, because if we look at the Process Church, they had those leanings,
yeah.
and the Process Church symbol actually resembles a swastika.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting. That's a good connection. See, I'm glad you're on this show.
Hey, and there's more.
Go for it.
Hey. Okay, so obviously he has a lot of spelling errors. So he's not very book smart, but he's very street smart, very intelligent.
Well, don't forget he's also writing these. He's also writing these ciphers as well.
That's what I'm saying.
And there's a couple we'll
That's
see in the next
intelligence.
episode.
And you mentioned it too a little bit ago about puzzles. He seems that he wants to be constantly in control of this whole situation, and that gets him quite a few steps ahead of the game, which is why he was never really caught. And it's like a big, huge puzzle for him to lay out for everybody to see if they can to solve it.
Yeah.
And he feels kind of higher being because I'm watching all of you from up here. Nobody's getting what I, put
That's
out
right.
for you. It's like a game to him. And the fact that he just kind of disappeared without a trace leads me to believe that something happened to him.
It's possible.
That whether it was an accident or he got mixed with the wrong person and he wasn't the 4 steps ahead anymore. And, I don't know. I don't think he's ever been caught. I think he died somehow.
I see what you're saying. Caught in another crime or something.
Right.
And put in jail. Yeah.
Right.
Or maybe he was forced to stop by someone even more powerful than him.
I don't know if that's that either, because to me it feels
The
like
guy's ego is pretty big.
he feels that I feel that he's got such a strong hold in wanting to be in such control. Either another theory too is that, a little bit in that was that he was kind of losing control. Maybe he let himself go. And he's just like, all right, I can't do this anymore. And I've done such horrible things. I haven't gotten caught. So maybe now's my time to just go.
Stop while the quitting's good.
Right.
Right. I think attributing, I feel like I feel some of that for sure on him, but I feel kind of opposite sometimes too on Zodiac, because I think he is just a lucky asshole. Like, how soon he should have gotten caught. I think him being the novelty first, at least in America, to, send letters to newspapers, right, with facts and stuff that only he would know
and these
cops would know.
codes.
Yeah, if that happened today, he would have gotten caught 2 times quick.
No, and doing that today is not impressive because not the first. Also that's a thing. As I think he made himself an icon because these murders are not any special than any other murder that was happening in San Francisco.
Yeah, it sucks to say, right? But it's not
right.
Tate LaBianca slaughter, or it's
No, it is not. It's actually very quick and very
it's more
he's driving around, seeing what's there, and then doing it.
It's more so of the chase.
Right.
That's what it is.
Right. He loves the aftermath of the murder almost as much, if not more, than the actual murdering. It seems.
Yeah.
Obviously, except for that thing I said about. He definitely has a thing about women because he kills them for sure.
Oh yeah, actually,
and maybe doesn't kill them.
I had too.
Yeah.
He may lack a lot of relationship with family or just love in particular because it seems that he's always going after couples.
Mm-hmm.
And that besides a cab driver, it just
cab driver
seems,
feels like it's just out of the blue.
Yeah, everything was off with that one. It was not his usual pattern of what he's been doing.
Yeah.
But it just seemed like he lacked a lot of love from family, or maybe something happened where he was in a relationship that screwed him up.
I wouldn't be surprised if he never had it. Really. I don't know. I don't think so. He just seems like that kind of guy who would bring a duffel bag to school instead of a backpack.
Yeah, but the whole thing with that kid and headaches and who knows what happened and not knowing his past, who he is.
It's a creepy call.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I love stuff like this, because I like to try and delve into their brain and see why and what.
He definitely wasn't stupid, but I think he thought himself too smart, because people who are smart and know it kind of have a big ass ego, and they kind of usually fucks them over, or at least it shows them to be pretty egotistical before it fucks them over. I think he just got a string of some luck of not being able to get caught, especially with because he wasn't killing only in one area. He was killing in different towns and in San Francisco as a city, right? So different places.
Pretty much focused in that Bay Area.
Yeah, just like when you had mentioned that I got this, what was it, the gun in a different state?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. He well, he didn't say gun. He purchased one of the weapons in another state.
So he's obviously getting around. So he must be working somehow.
Yeah.
And I kind of just came up with another theory. Maybe he also stopped me because he finally found love. And he's like, all right, I finally found what I was missing.
I will say, though,
envious
the one kind of benefit of him not getting caught, because in the end it's just 5 confirmed, we don't know the rest, is that I love the crazy things we could come up with of what could have happened, who could have been, how many could have been. Is it Tom Cruise? Is this all right? That's one of them. Well, who's that politician? That sneezy, sleeky.
Ted Cruz.
Ted Cruz. Thank you.
Yes.
It's a Ted Cruz. I know it's all fake, but I'm saying.
Yeah, Yeah.
I love the idea of all that. And also mention American Horror Story. You mentioned the hotel one, which I have not seen.
Okay.
But I did see. I don't really watch American Horror Story, but the one I did see was the one when Trump won. It was called the one specific about Trump. And it was about. I think it was a cult. Was it cult?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
probably,
it was.
I can see that.
Yeah.
There's that side thing about the women were the Zodiac Killer.
Oh,
remember?
Man.
That was the whole thing. They did a whole Zodiac angle where it wasn't this guy at all. It was these women, and then this man took credit for their murders.
Yes,
and they got pissed off about that.
That's right.
I love that shit. I just love when people go crazy.
It's never discussed about what if this wasn't a man.
That's when you first started with this, and I was going through it. I was like, wait a minute, how did they even know that it was a guy? Until you started talking about the letters and the phone calls, unless they used the voiceover.
I mean, there's descriptions of a big dude.
Right.
Well, yeah, but then, like you had mentioned too, I could make myself look like this, but I could also make myself look like this.
That's a good point.
It definitely could make it. You could sleep away camp it.
He
for
said,
sure.
I only look like that when I'm doing my thing.
Right. You look differently everywhere else.
He looks different everywhere, yeah.
And look at the theater and
what if it was
movies.
a woman masquerading as a man?
It totally
That's
could be.
Crazy.
Totally could be. Now,
crazy.
and also statistically, white males typically, right? Also, we kind of lean into that too.
Well, one of the reports was saying that he was a black man.
One of the initial police reports upon the death of the taxi cab driver, but it wasn't actually true. It was a mix-up.
Somehow they mixed up white for black. The police did.
And just walked right through.
Funny thing is that they'll make that same mistake today because we haven't learned our lesson yet. Anyway, That's all I got. From
Interesting topic.
Oh yeah,
So
for sure. This is one that I know, not just because I've seen so much footage on the stuff, so many different interpretations over the years. Not like in preparation or anything,
Well,
but I've seen some stuff.
The listeners have 2 more weeks, and we'll continue talking about the Zodiac.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Maverick Baker.
Oh, Cash and Maverick.
Oh right.
Well,
Why did you say? Oh.
Do.
Dot.
Dot.
dot, 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 dot.
Okay. What?
Testing.
What's his name again? Maverick. What?
Maverick Baker.
No, keep it up to your mouth.
Oh, Maverick Baker.
What is that? He or she or an it?
He.
Okay. What does he do?
I don't know.
Well, then why is your favorite?
I don't know.
What does he do? What's your favorite thing he does?
He's funny.
How?
He's just funny.
Does he have props? Like he's a prop comic? What is he?
He's just funny.
Is he like Carrot Top funny? What is he?
What does he do?
No.
Does he smash watermelons?
Does he smash watermelons?
No.
What does he do?
I don't know.
You made that guy up, didn't you?
No, I've seen him.
Cash Maverick. No.
They're
Cash
twins.
Baker and Maverick Baker. Not at all. Not at all.
Actually, they are. They do funny stuff in the malls, and they pretend like they're going to hold their girlfriend's hands, and then girlfriends hold each other's hands and leave them in the back, and they're just funny.
Goofballs.
Yeah.
They're just goofy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Nico,
Hello?
what color is this?
Orange?
It's red.
It's not orange.
We're
It's
colorblind.
It's red rum.
what?
Nico, how many
Play
of
my pool.
Yeah, there you go. How many of Talia's friends do you like?
Oh my god.
As friends?
Yes.
I don't know.
What's your favorite food?
Pizza.
Oh yes, you're a pizza-holic, aren't you?
Oh.
What's your favorite food?
Pasta. Pizza. Ugh.
Tali, do you have any boyfriends?
No.
that Dad
Yes.
know about?
No.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sadly, no. I'm kidding.
Yes.
But Nico has a girlfriend.
Does Talia know about the microphone matching her shirt?
Oh yeah.
Is that thing matching me? Oh. My.
But yeah, Nico has a girlfriend, and her.
No, I
name-
don't.
Her name is Juliana.
Yeah, right.
Jessie, Julian, and Juliana.
I thought it was Jillian.
You like the J names, don't you, kid? JC.
They're all. Jessie's my bestest. Jessie, if you're listening, you're like the best person in the world.
No, you're not, Jesse.
You're mean, Nico.
Yeah, Jesse loves you like a little brother.
Yeah. Me too.
Aww.
So Tali, I heard that you got a new iPhone.
Yeah.
Yeah. She got it taken away today.
Which keeps getting taken away.
Why was it taken away? Whose fault is
That's
it?
rude.
Whose fault is it?
Because she was on it when you were sleeping, but she didn't get told to do it.
We don't
He's
know.
half
It's like a
asleep.
Slender
He's
Man.
talking about. This isn't real
You're
or anything,
dreaming.
but people make it up, and of course Nico listens to it and believes it. So, like, people say if you go on Minecraft at 3 a.m. and make something, then it'll like create Slenderman and like a big mob or something in Minecraft. I don't know, but Daddy never. First of all, Daddy never told you. Second of all, it was probably just a dream because he would never be up at 3 a.m. playing Minecraft.
He's barely hanging on the right thread right now.
Yeah.
All right, you guys got to get to bed. We have to start this show.
Okay. Well, if y'all haven't already, please subscribe to everything.
Bye.
And
Yeah.
thank y'all.
Bye, channels. Bye.
Bye, channels.
Bye.